Hello, you're welcome to The Point of View. The Point of View is a favorite current affairs program on television. On The Point of View, we select the right topic, we bring the right guest, and then we ask the relevant questions, and we often leave you with insights. You can join a discussion, as always, via WhatsApp on 055-0585-832. The show, as well, is live on Facebook, so you can drop your comments down the live stream, and I'll read those comments out to the rest of the world. Tonight, the big discussion is on the Black Stars and Qatar 2022, which is just some 10 or 11 days away. Over the weekend till today, there's been quite a lot of discussion about who makes the list and who does not. There's a supposed list out, but of course, officially, Coach Otto will name his 26-man squad on Monday. We'll be looking at who makes a list, who should make it, who cannot make it, and why so. That is our discussion today. Of course, we know there are a few other things happening, but football is also the passion of the nation. Of course, inflation is stopped, 40%, vote of censure tomorrow, and a few other things. But today, we're devoting the show to our passion of football. GFA says, bring back the love. So we are trying tonight to bring back the love and all the discussion that has followed that particular supposed list. Okay, so I'll take a quick break. I'll return, introduce my guest, and then we'll kickstart the discussion. You're welcome. All right, you're welcome back to The Point of View. My name is Selorm Adonoo, sitting in for your regular host, Bernard Poku Ablet. Tonight on the show, we are looking at Qatar 2022, who makes the final Black Star squad. A lot of discussion is being generated around this particular subject. There's been a certain list, a supposed list, a list which has been rumored and it's been causing confusion on social media. A lot of pundits have had what they will say about it as well. We want to have our say today. So today, my guests are Benjamin Kojo Nketsia, a.k.a. Benjamin Nketsia, Head of Sports at Citi FM, Citi TV. Ben, you're welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Selorm.
Yes, my pleasure. We also have Collins Atta Poku. Collins Atta Poku, who joins us live via Zoom. He is a journalist with Sompa FM. Atta Poku, you're welcome to the program. We also have the man himself, Coach Christopher Nimley, sports analyst. He joins us also via Zoom. Coach, you're welcome to the program. We also have an ex-Ghana international, Emmanuel Agyeman-Badu. Emmanuel Agyeman-Badu is in recent times quite vocal and almost a pundit. And it's the same thing we see in Europe and other places where you see ex-footballers speaking and offering their views on matters regarding football, etc. So Emmanuel Agyeman-Badu is one of those we have in Ghana, and he will be on the show also via Zoom. So, gentlemen, you are welcome to the program. Let me start off with you, Ben. So we saw a 55-man list, and the question some of us asked was, why do you invite 55 people and give yourself the headache of having to prune down that 55 list to 26? Why 55? Was it a requirement from FIFA? Why 55?
Well, it's not necessarily a requirement from FIFA, but so typically what happens is that the World Cup happens in the June-July window. Now, when it happens in the June-July window, there's a break from the seasons, and then you typically go and play your World Cup. So teams would know that I'm done with the campaign, and then I'm going to play a World Cup. But this time around, due to weather conditions, this World Cup is going to be played in November, December, meaning that this is a World Cup being played mid-season. So now, what this basically does is that it gives FIFA and the organizers very little wiggle room for marketing and stuff like that. And when I say marketing and stuff like that, I'll give you an example. For instance, if you belong to the gaming world or EA Sports FIFA, for instance, in the video games, they have an update that's supposed to come out, I think, tonight on the World Cup edition. So it's a World Cup video game, and so they need to have, let's say, a pool of your players
that they can use
to have an idea of what they are doing with a game like that. For instance, there's a situation where on their website, they need to have FIFA squads for the various countries. So yes, your 26-man squad will come, but for merchandising purposes, for tournament logistic purposes and such like that, you need to have your 55-man squad delivered. And this is not supposed to be even for public consumption.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is done at the discretion of the country and the FA. So if the FA says that we feel that we should publicize our 55-man squad, it's solely up to them. Now, the strange thing with Ghana's squad is when it initially was selected, it was not shown to Ghanaians. And there was a lot of uproar in the media. Why aren't we seeing the squads? But again, if you know the technicalities, you know that you are not, it's not your right to see the squad. It's only your right to see the 26-man squad. And so the FA, ironically, did not release the squad then, but then 2 weeks after, released the squad when everybody had sort of forgotten about it. So it was very interesting. But basically, this is the reasoning behind picking a 55-man squad instead of just straight away going to picking, say, a 26 or a 23-man squad.
So we're seeing a 26-man squad. Supposedly, the list that will eventually be announced on Monday. We do not know that, so we say it's a rumored list.
Yeah.
Where from that? Who put that together? Is there any truth in that?
Well, I would just say that it's just the journalism world, journalism. I mean, it's just doing its thing. You have journalists who have sources within the team, and the truth is, the squad has been selected already. It's not an issue of now Otto Addo is scrambling to put together a squad because he gave us a 55-man pool. He's already had the bulk of his squad figured out by, I believe, say, the Brazil-Nicaragua friendly window. So he already had a squad figured out, at least an 80% squad figured out. And so he just had a few more holes to plug in. And so I believe that it's been something that's been lying down. And people have sources. People talk to players. And when you go about things the way it's been gone about, for instance, I'll tell you what's happening in the last 24 to 48 hours is that people like myself, I've had to restrain myself on social media from saying anything because
you've heard so much.
There's just so much going on. And every other minute or hour, there's a tweet that says that player A is not going, player B is not going. And it's playing out in all layers because it's not just the players, it's not just the journalists. Agents are getting involved as well. So, for instance, in the case of Jeffrey Schlupp, Otto Addo has had the unenviable task of calling everybody who's not making the squad and personally informing them. And so he informed Jeffrey Schlupp, whom has been on form this season. He's been consistent. And his agent has been absolutely livid. He said some words I cannot repeat on this show, but it's spilled over on that level. There's been issues with Schlupp
so on your screen
and his time in the national team.
Jeffrey Schlupp, who plays for Crystal Palace in England. He's teammates with Jordan Ayew and a few other greats, Wilfred Zaha and a few others. There you have Jeffrey Schlupp. We think that, or many people think that he's been on top form. And of course, we've not seen the final list, but to hear that he is not making the list, I think it came to many people as a surprise and quite disappointing because they feel that a player like that, quite versatile in the roles he's able to play, should be in the list. But of course, you're making a point. But I mean, so what does the coach look out for? Is there a criteria that must be satisfied? So, for example, your how much of a play time have you had? What's mean your fidelity to the national cause? You know, how respectful you are to what criteria? Is it just based on form, or there are other things that a coach will have to look out for? Or is it left to the coach's discretion, or other people must have a say in it?
Well, it's an interesting question you're asking, and I'm saying this because a few months back, I'm sure it's been a year, the FA president was asked because the issue of national team interference in player selection was very rife. And he was asked categorically, do you have a hand in who makes it to the national team? Or is the head coach allowed to make his decisions alone? And he stated very categorically that nowhere in the world does a head coach make decisions on who makes the national team by himself. I mean, I don't think he's privy to practices all over the world. I don't think that statement in itself is factual, but that was a big indicator of what our national team selection process was going to be like. And
but was that not a fair comment? Because I mean, the FA bears ultimate responsibility as the coach. Yes,
they do.
So if a certain coach comes and is just doing his own selection, in the end, it will come back to the FA.
Yeah.
So the FA having a say, and it doesn't mean that the FA will be twisting the coach's arm. FA will ensure the right things are done. Is that not correct?
Well, right things are done is relative. I feel like a lot of Ghanaians have come to the point where they believe that individuals don't get into the national team purely based on merit. And that always hurts the national team. I'll give you an example. I think that Ghana has a good set of players. We have enough quality. One of the things we've suffered the most in recent times is a lack of goodwill from Ghanaians. And this lack of goodwill basically stems from the last time we were at the World Cup, which was in Brazil, when that whole money grabbing scam tag was given to the players. Now, if you want to emerge out of that tunnel, for Otoado, I think that the first thing that you want to do is to make your job easier as a coach of the World Cup. By that, I mean you should pick your best players. Picking your best players means picking your most informed players. Now, even in this 55-man squad, if you are going by statistics and numbers, there are lots of players who should have been in those squads who aren't in the 55-man squad. And that was eye-raising for me. In the end, a lot of those names have come back to me, and people are saying that, well, they won't make it anyway. Even they didn't make the 55-man squad. They're definitely not making it. So I've heard players, I've spoken to players who have basically said that they've not been satisfied with the reasons they've been given for which they've been dropped from the national team. But you are asking, is it an issue of merit? Is it an issue of form? Is it an issue of rapport with the right people? I think it's a mix of everything. And that's what is right.
It also depends on the system the coach wants to play, right?
It does. But you see, Selorm, it's certain things will have you raise your eyebrows, because you ask yourself that if you are looking at numbers, you're looking at nuance, form, everything, and you have 4 of these individuals paraded, everything shows that player A is clearly above the rest of the 3 below him, but he miraculously does not make the squad at all. That's very interesting. Again, a lot of it is speculative, but again, players have spoken to the coach. That's the coach has explained that I'm not taking you to the World Cup, and we know these players, and so it's very interesting, because some of those are informed players, some of those are players we feel have not been given a fair chance. I'm talking about a guy like Joseph Painter. It's been rife. There was literally pandemonium on social media yesterday because his numbers have been great. It's almost a case of, what more should I do to get in?
And it's official that he's been spoken to and it's not
good.
Yeah,
he's been spoken to.
And nothing can be done about it. The list officially is not
good. Well, what I can say is that for a guy like that, his best case would be, let's say...
That's
those are Joseph Painter's numbers.
On your screen. He's played 13 games this season. He's scored 6.
Yeah.
He's given 7 assists, and his conversion rate is 24%. Not a bad statistics at all.
Yeah.
Let me go to Collins, Atta Poku, who... applies his trade in Kumasi. Hi, Collins. Welcome to the program. What's the feeling like in Kumasi? Are they also concerned about the supposed list, like the way the guys in Accra have been talking about it? Kumasi, we know, is a huge boiling pot for sports and football especially. What's the talk there?
The general issue here currently with the fans, especially Selorm, is disappointment. Some of them are even asking themselves, was it even worth it going into the stadium to support Black Stars to beat Nigeria over 2 legs and qualify? Many thought Black Stars wouldn't make it, but many in Kumasi believe the atmosphere they created at the Babayara Sports Stadium in the first leg was really a solid platform or foundation upon which the Black Stars plotted the job they did in Abuja. So there is disappointment here. Regards the names, there's bigger disappointment because all along it had been rumored that it was going to be Danlad Ibrahim of Asante Kotoko and Daniel Efri Ebanye of Accra Hearts of Folk joining the Black Stars to Qatar. But the moment news started coming out that the handlers had spoken to Danlad and had told him that he is not going this time around. He is young, he has age on the side, and he should do his utmost best. And they believe by the time we are in the next World Cup, he could potentially be our number 1. So in effect, he wasn't going. And the Kotoko BCF just felt like, yes, the GFA doesn't like us. And that's why Danlad apparently is not going to the World Cup. So
is it official? Is it confirmed that Danlad is not going? Has he spoken to some of you or people that he's been spoken to or communicated with that he is not making the cut?
Yes, he's spoken to people closer to him. I've spoken to him. He's actually put a statement to reflect that on his social media handles, saying that God's time is the best and all that. So yes, there is disappointment there, but he's decided to buckle down, work hard, and make sure he gets the opportunity in subsequent time. So yes, Selorm Adonoo has been spoken to. He's also accepted the decision. Barring any last-minute hitch, we do not expect that he would be joining the team. That would even be a miracle in itself. So it's the situation. And look, we've just decided to invite a circus upon ourselves. This thing was so avoidable, and we felt the FA could have managed it better. There's absolutely nothing wrong in inviting all these players and then giving them a try. But on what basis were we going to put 55 people up and then cut it to the 26 we need? Injuries?
It could be anything. And I'm not sure Ghana is the only country which did so. I think Brazil did a similar thing. I just don't know how many people. Absolutely. Just 2 days ago, they cut down their number to 26. I was disappointed. Gabriel, is it Magalhaes? Couldn't make it, but you know.
We've had others go straight to the point. Even if Ghana couldn't go straight to the point, we could have spared ourselves. We have the 55. We knew there has been 55 submitted, like Benjamin said days ago. So you just keep your calm and just throw the 26 out so that you spare everyone the pandemonium, because there's a circus around the 55. When we finally get a 26, there's going to be another circus. It started already. We are here to tackle the usual circus master, which is appearance fee and bonuses. So when you create this sort of negative vibe around the team, it goes around to come back and affect the team. And now you have people in Kumasi making all sort of comments and sentimental comments because that lad is not there and they don't like us. Kurt is hard to folk and all this. That's why they are taking a Hearts player. So the people who are supposed to unite behind the team and give them Atta are actually now divided over concerns that may be legitimate or not. And that's where I have my problem. Like Benjamin, I've also decided to restrain myself from saying anything about this list because where it is coming from, it is so bad. Coach spoke to players, and all of this, they are reacting.
I see. In the case of Danlad, of course, I understand the interest there. But in the department he's supposed to be featuring, there's Abdul Manaf Nuruddin, there's Richard Ofori, who we know, and there is Joseph Wallacott, who more or less is the #1 goal stopper for Ghana. Who were they expecting Danlad to displace in this team or in this list?
You know, if you leave it to the fanatical judgment of the Asante Kotoko fans, many of them even believe Danlad shouldn't just be in the team; he should be the first choice goalkeeper. Because of all the goalkeepers in the team, he's the only one that has actually gone through the mill properly. Under 17, he was our first choice. Under 20, he was our first choice when we won the African Under-20 Championship. He's an Olympic goalkeeper, and he's the goalkeeper for the Black Galaxy. So he's seen it all. And these people have just jumped in recent times. So if you leave them to their fanatical views, they would even tell you that Danlad should be the first choice goalkeeper for the Black Stars. But their worry is that when you mention Manaf and you mention Atitigi, what have they done? What is their consistency with the national team? Oh, you have seen it. Manaf was at the Karen camp in Japan. He saved some penalties and all that. Wallacott just came in and qualified us to the World Cup. Richard Ofori was our #1, and then he actually lost form and because of injuries also lost his position. So if for nothing at all, Manaf should just give his place to Danlad. And they argued this strongly, knowing that the sentimental argument on the $10,000 per day for players from local also comes in. That look,
we do a lot for the local economy.
People should benefit from the World Cup and the local economy and all that. So a lot comes into it, Selorm. But again, it is fair to repeat this. Everything happening now is firmly on the doorstep of the Ghana Football Association.
I see. All right. So let's look at this rumored 26-man squad, and then we will focus our discussion, on this now. So we have in the goalkeeping department, Abdul Manaf Nuruddin. We have it on your screen now. Richard Ofori, Joseph Wallacott. Defenders, Dennis Odoye, Tariq Lamte, Ali Duseidu, Baba Rahman, Gideon Mensah, Mohamed Salisu, Daniel Amate, Alexander Jiku, and then Joseph Adonoo. In the midfield, amongst the midfielders, we have Thomas Partey, who automatically walks into the team. Daniel Kofichre, Salis Abdul Samed, Idrisu Baba, Elisha Owusu, Mubarak Wakaso, Kamal Sowa, Mohamed Kudus. The forwards or in the striking department, Osman Bukari, Kamal Dean Suleimana, Abdul Fattah Isahaku, Jordan Ayew, Andre Ayew, and then Daniel Efriye Banier. So this is the list making the rounds on social media and almost everywhere. We must say that we do not have any confirmation that this is the list that will be outdoors on Monday. But I think what it is that, it appears like a credible list. But of course, the coach will have to make that announcement on Monday. And as we understand, the coach will name his team and he will defend it. And I know a lot of journalists like Benjamin Nketsia, Collins and Co. are lacing their boots and cleaning their microphones, ready to pose the questions to Coach Otto Addo. So now let's look at the goalkeepers. Obviously, it's quite obvious that Joseph Wollacott will be the one, keeping the post. When you look at these three keepers, will it be appropriate or will it be okay or in place to say Wollacott should be the one starting?
First of all, I think that he's been the most consistent among the goalkeepers. The knock on him was the fact that he was playing in the lower tiers, and so individuals tried to say that he wasn't up to the standard that you needed to be to play for the national team. I don't think that argument is either here or there. I think that talent will show itself when it is time to show itself. Wollacott will go up against the best of them and everybody will see it. I feel that he's been injury-free. He's come up big when Ghana has needed him. Minus him, we might not be here. He was the one who managed to navigate that game against Nigeria. And it was always a debate about Wollacott or Ofori. But Ofori's been very patchy lately. He's been in and out of the Orlando Pirates team. He's been injured. He's come back. He's not had great form. And so you wouldn't want to gamble if you're Otto Addo. You want to go with the person you know best. Atizigi does well for club St. Gallen. Some way, somehow, concedes the weirdest of goals when he comes down to Ghana. And so he's always been an outsider. And then there's Manaf for Eupen. Manaf just broke into the team recently. He's also had his ups and downs at club level. So everything just basically points to Wollacott being our number one because one, like I'm saying, he's been ever present, unlike the rest of his peers.
I see. Right, we'll take a short break, return, look at the rest of the names, and then introduce the other panelists on the program. This is The Point of View. Don't go away. You're welcome back to The Point of View. We are looking at Qatar 2022. The tournament starts in some 11 days. Ghana has been drawn with countries such as Uruguay, Portugal, and South Korea. This evening I heard that South Korea's son will most likely feature because we heard he had some eye injury also. He had some surgery. But we heard this evening that he may feature and he's so happy about that. So that gives us some food for thought. So we are looking at the squad. We are hoping to face these teams with Cristiano Ronaldo's Portugal. What was the name of this guy who denied us? Suarez's Uruguay, and then Son's South Korea. We'll just look at the goalkeepers we have in that supposed list. And it's quite obvious that Wollacott will be the one who will be keeping the post, at least as a first-choice keeper. Now, the defenders, we have Dennis Odoi, Tariq Lamptey, who is one of the new guys in the team, one of the guys that the GFA is trying to bring on, Ghanaians born elsewhere, Ali Dusedu, Baba Rahman, who we know quite well, Gideon Mensah, Mohamed Salisu, Daniel Amate of Leicester City, Alex Andajiku, who is also featured quite a few times, and then Joseph Adonoo. So, Benjamin, who are these players? Where do they play? And then why should they be in the team?
Good question. First of all, I think that for Ghanaians, the one person they should be happy about the most is Mohamed Salisu, because we went back and forth over his inclusion in the team. even when he was finally included, there was a division between Ghanaians. There was a school of thought that said that, well, if you didn't think you needed to play in the qualifiers, why should we bring you into the team now that we have qualified? But his quality is undeniable. He goes up against the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, Cristiano Ronaldo, Mohamed Salah on a weekly basis. And he falls right within the category of modern day centre backs. You know, Salisu is left-footed, and if you follow trends in football lately, the left-footed centre back has become even more sought after because of passing angles and playing out from the back generally. He's comfortable with the ball at feet, so he's just that type of guy. He's almost like a general in defense. He makes other players around him better just by being in the team. So one person we should be glad is in the mix for our World Cup campaign is Mohamed Salisu. I'm also happy about a guy like Tariq Lamptey, because Tariq Lamptey is rated really highly by the English establishment. He's played for all their junior ranks and was actually even being considered for the national team. The only knock on him was that he's not played a lot this season, but he's always been that guy.
But why hasn't he played a lot this season? Injury or form?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. He's had his injury concerns. The thing with Tariq is
so on your screen is Tariq Lamptey. His numbers: he's played 30 games, 37 interceptions,
23
tackles, key passes 21, and he's completed 28 dribbles. So he plays for Brighton and Hove Albion in the UK. So you said he's not playing, often this season.
Basically, his gift is his curse. He's a very athletic player, and that means he's very fast, he's very agile, but it also means that he's very injury prone because of how his muscle structure is. And so he's been in and out of the team, and sometimes when you have that type of run, coaches cannot rely on you too much. They have to move on from you. So I believe that's what he's suffered from. He's always been a good player. Will he start for Ghana, though? I feel that will be an issue of what Otto Addo is trying to do on the day. If we are trying to dominate an opponent, we are trying to overload and attack an opponent relentlessly, he's your guy to go with, because he's
pacey,
he's more offensive-minded than defensive-minded. If you're trying to go with more defensive solidity, sit back, soak up pressure, and play on the break, you might want to go with a Dennis Odoi who is less adventurous and who is also more gritty in the tackle. So it depends on what you want. A guy like Alidou Seydou comes in. He's not somebody a lot of Ghanaians have seen. He plays for Clermont Foot in the French Ligue 1. Now he can play as a right back, he can play as a left back. So it remains to be seen whether they deem him good enough to knock off somebody from a starting perch within the team as it stands. But he's featured prominently for his club side. He's a very good player. So our defense is pretty solid. Baba Rahman has had his own injury woes in and out, but I think Ghanaians are unfair with the assessment of Baba Rahman most of the time. He will most often than not give you a very sure performance. He will not wow you.
Is it because Ghanaians expect so much from him? Of course, I mean, when he was growing and advancing in his career, the move to Chelsea and what we saw Essien do in Chelsea, I think a lot more people were expecting to see him in that light. Well, but that really hasn't happened.
There's that. I mean, the kid who was supposed to be a star and didn't materialize. There's also the bit about his affiliation with the FA president. So Baba Rahman is a Dreams FC product. Went all the way to Greater Firth, all of that. So he has very strong ties with the FA president. And there are people who have felt that there have been times where his form did not merit him playing in the team, but he still made it. But I'm saying that overall, he's played literally every game for his club side last season. This season, when he's been healthy, he's played every game. And so he's a player who you might want to say whatever you want, but he's a sure player. He will give you good quality time on the pitch. Yes, every defender is prone to an error or two, but Baba Rahman, I think, will be our starting left back at the World Cup. He'll give you a decent performance. Overall, I think the defense is good. Like I'm saying, my standouts from that defense, Alidou Seydou and Mohamed Salisu.
Oh, Alidou Seydou. I see. All right, so let's look at the centre backs. Collins. So we have the likes of Jiku, Salisu, okay, so yes, Amate and Alidou Seydou, just as Benjamin is just said. What do you make of that combination or that department of the game? Centre back, Jiku, Salisu, Amate, and then Ali Dusedu. A lot of people actually do not know a lot about Ali Dusedu, but to be included in this so-called list means he should have something to offer.
Well, he absolutely has something to offer, Selorm, and the only knock on him is his height and the fact that we have very dominant centre-backs currently in the Black Stars pecking order. In the past, we would have quickly said that put Amate and Jiku there. Myself and Ben were in Cameroon and we saw Amate and Jiku and how they could really go flat-footed. The first goal Comoros scored against us was a critical example of how Daniel Amate came forward, couldn't get his man, and the gap he left was left unfilled, and Black Stars conceded. So it's a breath of fresh air to have Salisu joining the team from Southampton. Our best centre-back, regardless of what anyone says, is Daniel Amate. Now he is going to be an ever-present. It's him that we are going to find a partner for, and I believe that when we are playing our opening game against Portugal, I would want to see Daniel Amate partner Mohamed Salisu as our centre-backs. Unlike Benjamin, I would go for Gideon Mensah as our starting left-back.
Ahead of Baba Rahman.
Absolutely.
How about the right backs? Do you agree with Benjamin on the choice being dependent on the strategy of the coach? So, for example, if you want to overwhelm your opponent, you go with Tariq Lamptey. If you want to be a bit defensive, then you go with Dennis Odoi. Do you subscribe to that?
I do, Selorm, because we can't fight fire with fire in this very situation. Portugal, it's pretty obvious João Cancelo is going to be a very advanced fullback who would operate as a right-sided midfielder at some point. Nuno Mendes of PSG is going to play as an advanced left back who could sometimes even operate as a left-sided midfielder at times. So what it means is that you need a steady fullback who would be very much aware of his defensive responsibility. So you go with Odoi when you don't want to dominate, but rather want to defend steadily, and then go with Tariq Lamptey when you need to chase the game, like against Korea or something.
All right, let's look at the midfield. Partey, Salis Abdul Samed, Dede Ayew, Kudus, and Tre. Looks like quite a solid team or a solid group of players. Kudus, Tre, Dede, even though his age is catching up on him, and then Partey, who many believe should bring his A game on, and who many believe this should be his tournament. I hear so much about Salis Abdul Samed as well. What kind of a player is he, Benjamin?
Well, Salis is like a young, budding version of Michael Essien. I'm not saying he's Michael Essien, so let nobody get carried away, but he brings the same type of energy, and he plays in the French league. He plays for Racing Club de Lens, so he's a guy who is used to robust play. He has good height for a defensive midfielder. He can step out of the defense with the ball, and so he is what I would say is a slight upgrade on Baba Idrisu. Baba Idrisu is more of a destroyer, so you would put Baba Idrisu right in front of your defense if you are trying to break up play. As soon as he gets the ball, he lets go to guys who are more comfortable on the ball. Salis, though, is comfortable breaking up play and is also comfortable stepping out of defense. Very tactically disciplined player as well. And I've always said that in defensive midfield, you need to be the most tactically disciplined player on the pitch. If your defensive midfielder isn't disciplined, you'll be exposed. And that's one knock that a guy like Mubarak Wakaso has received all throughout his career. Now, you're a veteran. Being a veteran means that you're supposed to have a certain even keel cap on your head that your usual rookie or player, a newbie doesn't have. But Wakaso always tends to come in with the occasional error, the occasional rash tackle. And so it's interesting to see if Salis will actually break into this team because he also had reservations about joining the Black Stars initially. Eventually the issues were smoothened out and then now he's joined the team. But I think Salis he's an enterprising player. He's one of those guys, again, I'm excited to see. I would have loved to see Jeffrey Schlupp. I'm not saying that Schlupp should have started in that midfield along Partey or anything, but Schlupp is just like a Swiss Army knife. He just does so many things well. He can be in the midfield. He can be at left back. He can be at left wing back. He can be even a striker if you need him to be. And so he's one of those guys
that's Slop.
Exactly. If you have Jeffrey Slop in your team
as well.
Yeah, he can literally do everything for you except probably be a goalkeeper. And so he's one of those guys that it's not about whether he fits in the midfield. People have made the argument that, well, if you want to put him beside Partey, they are sort of similar.
His numbers are not bad.
Yep.
Played 13 games.
Yep.
His pass percentage 79.1.
Yeah.
10 interceptions, tackles 22.
Yeah. When he's been healthy, he started literally every game for Patrick Vieira this season. And so he's just a very positive player. It's unfortunate we won't have him, but it's one of those areas that's key to Ghana's success at the World Cup. What sort of midfield combination we eventually go with. That's always been our headache. Do we play, for instance, a guy like Thomas Partey in the role Atta plays him in at Arsenal? Do we push him further up the pitch? Because guess what? He tends to score basically every time he plays for Ghana. And most of the time when he plays for Ghana, he plays as a number 10 or almost as a shadow striker. So it's interesting. Our midfield is one of those areas that will generate a lot of controversy. Wakaso's generated his fair share of controversy, but it's the engine of our team. If Otto Addo gets our midfield right, there's a good chance that Ghana will perform well at the World Cup.
So there's Mohamed Kudus. How central or key is he to the midfield? A lot of people have described him in many good ways. People think that he will be the one to carry the team. Others also think that he wastes too much time on the ball, turning around, and sometimes waste time. And by the time he releases the ball, it's too late. I don't know what you think of him, Collins.
Well, the difficulty for us is that he's been employed in a position that suits him as a second striker, sometimes as the number 10. So, Selorm, how are we going to fashion a system to get the very best out of him? This is bold. But Selorm, the only way we do that is to drop the DIU. It is the only way we will be able to fashion a system because they are so like-minded in profile and then application. And the central areas that they would want to run into from whichever flank you put him are the very areas Kudus would want to dominate. What happens is that he comes to Ghana, he becomes a number 8.
Normally,
a left side.
So number 10 is a typical number 10, is he not? Then
yes.
Then you put the DIU on the wing.
But the DIU does not have pace.
Absolutely. And he lacks the mobility to operate effectively as a left wing forward or a right wing forward. So you'd have to play him in central areas where he could pop up and provide that pass, provide that shot, or attack headers like he does in recent times. So now it leaves you with one left-footed right winger and one right-footed left winger to complete the Black Stars lineup so that you have a central number 9 in there. So let's say you have Iñaki Williams and then you are playing Kudus just behind him. Kudus now becomes one of the 3 in midfield. So let's say a Kudus, Partey, Baba, Idris. You have a 6 who would push Partey a bit forward to a right-hand-sided 8. So you play 2 8s, and then a left-sided 8 would become Kudus now. So that you push him further forward to operate in the hole behind the strike. So that you can have the 2 wingers, wing forwards, let's say a Jordan Ayew or Fatau Ishaku. So the difficulty now is how do we get this right? Because we've been struggling with it since AFCON in the World Cup qualifiers. It's been like that. They started playing very well against South Africa in Cape Coast when Kudus went off. When Kudus was on the pitch, the profiles and the roles that had been given to them was way too similar. And you could see they were struggling to do it. So, Selorm, it's difficult, but we need to make very, very bold statements.
Dropping the DIU will be like you said, very, very bold.
I think Collins is a very bold journalist because this is literally Ghana's biggest headache going to the World Cup. Andre Ayew is your captain, and he's
so influential.
He's a very influential figure in the team. So that's a headache I don't want to have as Otto Addo because he needs to take a decision on whether he wants to start as captain because one, Andre Ayew does not have the legs anymore. He cannot track back as much as you want. He cannot press as much as you want. What he is, though, is a very good finisher. Now, what do? Do you curtail the powers of Kudus? Because Kudus, if you take away from us Partey from our team, Kudus is our most potent weapon. And you don't want to curtail the powers of your most potent weapon to accommodate a veteran. And so it's a very touchy situation we have. If Otto Addo can get this right, I think
leadership on the pitch. The DRU appears to have a lot of that.
I mean, look, there's leadership on the pitch. I don't think the Black Stars will lack leaders on the pitch because, like I've said already, Salisu goes up against the best in the world week in, week out. Amate does the same. Partey does the same. Kudus scores against Liverpool in the Champions League. And so we have players who will not be overawed by the competition. But can we pick the right personnel? Will we not succumb to our whims and politics and say that I'm going to put this guy in, even though I know that he will shortchange our team? Those are the little decisions that you need to take. And I've been around the national team long enough to know that these things affect competition chemistry. Whether you pull him in, whether you do not. It goes all the way to the team supporters. Some supporter bases will tell you that, you know what, you are playing politics with the team as a coach. We can see it as supporters, so play the right personnel. These are the things that Ghanaians will be looking out for because, look, we've been starved of a World Cup since 2014. The last memories we have of a World Cup are
2010
money kisses and whatnot. You know, the 2010 World Cup, and even those are heartbreak stories. I mean, we went further, we did well, but those are heartbreak stories. So it's almost like we've waited a long time to get here. Let's not blow it. So Otto Addo has a very tricky task on his hands.
All right. We'll talk about team chemistry. A lot of these players haven't played together for a long time. A lot of them currently are involved with their teams playing week in, week out. Whether there'll be enough time for the players to gel and what that chemistry should look like. In 2010, we had a midfielder. In fact, the entire team was a unitary one, and the players appeared to know themselves. They had respect for each other, etc. So things worked quite well. Well, we'll take another break. We'll come back and look at all of those issues. We'll look at who will be in the striking department. There's Inaki Williams there. We'll also find out why, what was the name of this guy? Hansen Odoi couldn't make it. Is it that he had issues with his nationality switch? Afena Jan also doesn't appear to be on this rumored list. Emphasis on rumored, this rumored list. We'll look at all of that when we come back. You're welcome back to The Point of View. We are looking at the Black Star squad who should make it to Qatar. Coach Otto Addo has had an unviable task of pruning his 55-man squad down to 26. Already there is a list making the rounds and people are talking. People don't understand why some names like Joseph Pencil and Jeffrey Schlopp should not be on the list. It appears Otto Addo has a lot of explanations to make if indeed they do not make the list. We don't know what can happen between now and Monday, where we hear he will address the press and adore the list. Now so we're talking about Dede Ayew. I mean, his influence in the team and the fact that, you know, age is catching up on him. It's not as pacey as he used to be. How old is he now? 33, 34?
Yeah.
And you have the young Kudus, and as Collins rightly put it, the two of them
Similar
appear
profiles.
to be, you know, playing in similar roles, and they are deployed similarly too. So what do? Do you put Andre on the wing, but he doesn't have pace, he doesn't have speed as he used to? What do? Do you start him ahead of Kudus, or do you bench your captain, who is so influential? And mind you, we are playing Qatar, and he plays in Qatar. Well, the day you want to be on the bench whilst you are playing in quote unquote his home, you know that. So that's something that Otto Addo will have to unravel. Quite interesting. Now let's look at the guys in the striking department: Osman Bukari, Kamaldeen Sulemana, Abdul Fattah Ishaku, whose name has come up a lot, Jordan Ayew, Andre. Okay, so Andre, so Andre midfield forward, and then Daniel Efriye Barnier. My favorite name on this list is Daniel Efriye Barnier. He's a Hearts of Folk guy. Appears to be gaining a lot of popularity. There he is.
He's
popularity,
very popular.
you know, on the local scene, scoring a lot of important goals for Hearts of Folk, and he appears to be the guy. I mean, the face of the local league right now. So for me, I think it's quite encouraging to have him here, and I pray that he remains on the list. You know, I don't know about people who think that It's tokenism to put him on the list because it's not up to the standard. However you call it, I think that we must have a representation of our league, you know, in a team, in a squad like this. It gives encouragement to the guys in the local league. It makes them want to strive and do better because they know if they do better, they can get there. So let me come to Collins first. Collins, Osman Bukari, who is he? What does he bring?
One of the best Ghanaian players currently playing in Europe. He swapped the French league for the Serbian Pro League. He's with Red Star Belgrade, and he led a charge for them in the Champions League qualifiers, which ended in the Europa League. He's had an excellent start to the season, and together with Joseph Paintsel and then probably Iñaki Williams in no particular order, are the best performing Ghanaians currently in the top 10 leagues in Europe. He's someone who can be deployed as a right winger, as a right wing back, and he could also play behind your central striker. So he offers a lot on both flanks as a right-sided winger, where his job would be to cross and provide opportunities for others, and also on the left when he cuts in onto his right and have goals. He's been having a stellar start to the season, and he's one name that, in all honesty, it would have been a travesty if he was omitted from this list.
Wow, I see. Kamaldeen Sulemana, who is he? What does he bring?
Another bright, right-sided winger who played so well at the beginning for his team Stade Rennes. Selorm, unfortunately, he's been blighted by injuries, and as we speak, he's in a race against time to be fit for the competition. He has ankle issues, and it could be that we take Kamal to the competition. We've been told he's been selected and he's going to play, but it could actually be that Kamal might not play in our first game, as he will be healing and will be nurturing himself back to match fitness.
Given the injury and what we saw of Wakaso in the AFCON tournament, Wakaso was not well. We took him there hoping that he will recover and then join the play. We think it's wise to take an injured player along when there's so much competition for the space?
Selorm, is the precedence. The issue we have is the precedence. And the people in charge have not changed. Myself and Benjamin asked this question so many times. He was actually the first person to sneak into the team training in Yaoundé. And then he came to tell us that, look, Wakaso is heavily strapped and he's not training. He doesn't think he would play. We continue asking. We met Keto Kreku outside the training grounds. He said he was going to play. The doctor said same. Coach said same. Raiva Henry Asante Chuma also said same. We stood there, watched, asked for as long as we could. He didn't play. So I believe that regardless of the injury situation, if this regime makes up their mind to take a player, they will find a way to take this player, irrespective of the status of the player's health.
People have complained that Jordan Ayew doesn't score. But when I watch him play, his contribution to the overall contribution to the game is very positive. Should we keep maintaining him as a striker, or what should we do with him?
No, it's the role, Selorm, where we see him as an effective player. He's mainly deployed on the right-hand side of midfield, or sometimes as a right winger to accommodate Wilfred Zaha, and then also push either Otson Edouard or Jean Mateta up front as the lone striker. He does very well, but we've known him as somebody who provides goals. We saw him in the 2015 African Cup of Nations. He was full of goals. He also announced himself to us with goals. And what we lack currently is goals. And I believe that, yes, we can persist with him, but then he should be deployed in such a manner that irrespective of his work rate and attributes outside scoring, the goals would pop up and make his work easier. The currency of every forward is goals. Forwards are measured with goals.
Forwards are measured with goals. One name that hasn't made this list, but prior to has been spoken about a lot, is Afene Jan. I don't know whether it's the Jan name or because of how he came up with Mourinho and all of that, the shoe and all of that. But he's not been scoring, and his numbers are pretty bad. You know, a lot of people thought that he should not be overlooked. Benjamin, what do you make of the quest by people to have Afene Jan in the team, even though his numbers don't look pretty good?
Look, this is my honest opinion about Felix's run in the team. It was good while it lasted, but in honesty, he's somebody who belonged more to our under-23s or our under-20s system, where we would allow him to grow more into the fully fledged striker that we wanted him to become. But he got his run in the Black Stars. I think that it shouldn't come as a surprise, or there shouldn't be uproar if he's left out of the final list, because there are more capable seniors than him in there. He has his qualities, but he's also been blighted with injuries in the past couple of months. He moved to Cremonense, hoping to get more playing time to put himself in the stead to go to the World Cup, but that has not gone according to plan. He's spent a lot of time nursing his injuries. He's played very peripheral minutes, and so, I mean, his case has not been strong. If you take away the first leg against Nigeria in the playoffs, his case has not been strong ever since, and so it won't come as a surprise to me if he doesn't make the final cut. What I think is that he's a lad who will have a lot more time to make his impact in the national team. Now might just not be that time.
Inaki Williams, when it was announced that he switched nationality to Ghana, people were happy. And he's been scoring. I mean, he's been scoring in his team. Is he... of course, he walks into the team, but what should we expect from him? More goals at the tournament? I
don't even know if he walks into the team, Selorm, because Inaki's position is what I think Otoado might gamble with and play Andre Ayew in. I think that if Andre Ayew plays or starts in the national team, he starts as a forward, as either a false nine or as a striker, because...
So you will have a goal machine like Inaki Williams, experience at the topmost level, and you put him on the so that there he is, scoring very important goals.
And the good thing about Inaki is, Inaki can play on the left wing, he can play on the right wing, he can play as a lead striker, and he can even play as a support striker. So he's a very versatile and mobile forward. My problem is that what kind of combination are we going to see from Otoado? Has that combination played enough long together to have enough chemistry? Because offensive play is mostly about chemistry. Do you know where I am? Can you give me a back heel without me having to ask you? Those little things make the difference in tournaments. So for Williams, yes, on form, on pedigree, he should be starting as our lead striker at the World Cup. I have no doubts about that. But I'm also saying that it's not that straightforward. There's politics to the selection. There's a lot of nuance to who plays, who doesn't, who complements who in what position. There's a lot going on in that mix there. Getting that mix right is what will ensure our success. Does Williams start? I'm not too sure. Should he start? Yes, he should.
This young guy, Fatau
Isahaku,
he appears to have something going for him. He's been present in almost all our games. And in this particular instance, if the rumored list is anything to go by, it appears that he's being swapped with or for Joseph Pinto, whose numbers have been pretty, solid. And Fatau has not had a lot of game time in Europe. His numbers are not very good. He's played 3 games. The total minutes he's played this season is just 22 minutes against Joseph Pinto, who has played about 937 minutes and played 13 games. So to have such a person in place of Joseph Pinto, Isahaku Fatau must really be doing something right in the national team.
Well, the argument made for Isahaku is that he is a product of what we call transitions. We always cry out for transitions in our national teams. Now, he was basically the MVP in the Under-20 World Cup, Under-20 AFCON when we won it. He's been moved on to the Black Stars. He's left-footed as well. And that's something we don't have a lot of in the national team. A left-footed, right-sided winger. And so he brings something different to the table. He can cut in. He's very direct. He can shoot. But the fact is, he spent a lot of his time fleeting between the Sporting Lisbon bench and the junior team. And so that doesn't give you a lot of confidence, because how many top-level opponents has he gone up against? Does he have raw talent? Yes, I agree. Can he do a job for Ghana? Perhaps he can, but he's one of those guys who is under a lot of scrutiny, I think unfairly, because he's been thrown into the line of fire. But that's it. The national team comes with a lot of pressure. Whether young, whether old, when you are thrown in there, when you are given that duty to bear, you need to make sure you execute.
So you think this team has enough depth to go far?
Go far is relative.
Maybe quarterfinal?
The group is tough on itself. We need to think about navigating the group. Do it, in the words of the cliche Ghanaian coaches, one game at a time. Take it one game at a time.
Very
try and finish Portugal off. Try and see what you can get from Korea. And then there's the almighty Uruguay. A game Ghanaians have been waiting for how long, only they know.
I see. All right, so that's how we conclude our show today. Collins Atta, Poku, thank you so much from Sompa FM in Kumasi. Benjamin Nketsia, my colleague here at Citi FM, Citi TV. Thank you so much for joining us. We couldn't reach out to, or Coach Nimli couldn't join us, and Ajman Bedu also couldn't connect. My name is Selorm Adonoo. We wish the Black Stars the best of luck. The tournament starts sometime later this month. Have a good evening and keep watching Citi TV.